Hello everybody, welcome back to Bipolar Line Deb. I'm Deborah. I'm going to talk to you today about life-changing decisions that happen sometimes without you asking them to happen, and mostly that happens. I'll give you an example. For example, when you started school, your life changed, your perspectives changed, your feelings, your thoughts, and everything else changed. Then another big event, let's say you got married or you had children, that's a big event that changed everything. And again, the road you're on moves slightly as you adapt to your new way of life, your new surroundings. Then if you get divorced or separated or your partner passes away, that takes on a whole new projection all on its own. And so someone asked me, I bring this up because I was asked about triggers. What triggers us? So I would suggest, if you feel like it, you write down a list of when any big change happened in your life. What happened around it? What, how did it make you feel? Were you angry? Were you unhappy? Were you disappointed? Were you afraid? What were you feeling? What was that thing? Because we all have them. We go through life tending to think, well, we're on this trajectory. We're here, we're born, and then we're going up and up and up, and eventually we'll go down and down and down, and then we'll die. It doesn't work like that. Because I think the Beatles said, while life carries on while you're making other plans or something, which is exactly what happens, something like that. Don't quote me. But you could plan a holiday, and this is not to be negative, this is just to think about things in a different way. You could plan a holiday to visit a friend overseas and say you've got to go in 4 months' time because you have to get enough money together and whatever. And then just before you're supposed to go, something happens in your life that's either tragic or not, but that makes you not be able to go and visit this friend of yours. And this can happen, and it does happen, but we tend to not take notice. It's kind of brushed off. It's like, for example, let's say I'm going to see somebody next year overseas. Now, I'm very excited about it. I'm very happy. But in the back of my mind, I know it's highly possible that something could happen that I don't get to go. I hope not. But if I put all of my trust, and if you put all of your trust and all of your longing into this thing happening, well, if it doesn't, it's such a bad letdown. It's so difficult to come to terms with. So your triggers could be when you turned such and such an age, your parents separated. That's a big thing in your life. What happened to you? Write it down, because you'll start to find things that happened there, little cues. It could be the way somebody laughed, could be the way somebody looked, could be the things they spoke about. Perhaps your parents argued all the time and the one was always having to be right. So when you're talking to people and they always have to be right, that's a trigger for you, and you don't know why, because it just irritates you and you think, but does it matter if they want to really be right? Doesn't harm me. And so that's where it could come from. And I have found it enormously helpful myself. I share this with you because I have found it very helpful myself to just take note of the big happenings in my life, of which there have been many. And how did I feel about them? And so memories are malleable, remember that. So you might think back now as you recall, let's say your parents got divorced. I'll say, my parents got divorced. There. If I think back to that time, it's hazy, okay? But I can piece fragments together and I know how I felt. All I can go by is not necessarily my memories, but I can go by how I felt, because your heart never ever lies to you. And you keep that feeling of fear or of excitement, of pain, of avoidance. That kind of stays with you. And that's where a lot of our traumatic mental illnesses come from. It comes from trauma. And so all these loads of little things, it doesn't have to be one, it can be one big thing, but it could also be lots of little things that happen to you, which is then complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is, I'm not going to get into names because it becomes, it becomes stressful for you and for whoever's living it. But I found if I break it down into that happened when I was that age, that happened when I was that age, that's what I did to cope with it at that age, and then that age, and then that age, and how did I cope with each change? What did I do? Did I shut myself off from the world, or did I become fearless? Because we've got two things. Trauma can either shatter us or trauma can make us. There's a lot of truth in, Gabor Mate says, trauma is not what happened to you. Trauma is the result inside of you. That's the trauma. So in other words, you go through a terrible childhood and you're traumatized maybe constantly. So of course that's traumatic when it's happening. There's no two ways about it. But the result of that trauma is what your trauma is, which could be mental or physical illness. And so it's always a good idea when you're not quite sure about something or you're feeling insecure about a part of your life to kind of map out where the big changes came. So you were going to school from start of school to grade, I don't know, say standard 5, okay, and you were in the same school, cool. But what if the child who started school 6 months later was removed to a different school, and then 6 months later was taken to another school, and then they stayed there for a year and a half, and then maybe they moved provinces? That's very traumatic. So it's a lot of little traumas, and so perhaps moving a lot triggers you. And you might think, but why? We're moving to such a nice place and it's really great. I'm really grateful. Well, of course you are. But at the same time, moving all the time, like having your little piece of cheese on your back, is a stressful event for you. Moving itself anyway is stressful. I mean, we all know that. Moving is horrifying. It's up there with the first 3. And I personally cannot stand it. But anyway, it's nice to know what your triggers are, simply because then you can start to soften them, let them go. So you were triggered about moving, and so for me, let's just say for me, I was moved every 6 months. No, I wasn't. I'm giving you an example. So every 6 months, I went to a different school, different province, different people, different friends, different everything. And right now, if I have to move somewhere, I go into a full-blown meltdown panic attack, which doesn't make sense because there's no problem. The movers are coming. I've got the house. Do you see what I mean? So when I break it down like that, it's just, don't talk to me about moving, please. I can't cope. You get on with it and let me know where the address is. it gets to that, you know, instead of driving yourself crazy, we drive ourselves crazy for crazy things. We don't need to. And I just think you need to be very gentle on yourself, especially now, because, you know, Christmas is coming and it's a lonely time for a lot of people. Whether you have a child who's really ill, or whether you're a widower, maybe you've just separated, perhaps you've just gotten divorced, or perhaps you've just lost your children to your partner, and even worse things. Christmas has this way of triggering us because everyone's having a jolly-ho, tickety-boo time, and we are sitting thinking, when will this bullshit be over with? Because that's how we are seeing it, as bullshit. Why? Because maybe when we were young, Christmas was a freaking nightmare. And you see, there's your trigger. Now you know, all right, that happened when I was that age at Christmas time. That was then. This is now. So we're living in the now. And so I don't need to let it get me upset. In fact, I'll find the joy. And if you find the joy in whatever you can find joy in, especially those things that get you really upset, really triggered, really, man, I'm having a meltdown. And I don't know why. And then the doctor might say to you, well, what happened? And then you're going to go, well, nothing happened. That's the problem. I don't know why. I don't understand it. Well, well, just give it a try if you want to. Certain big events in your life that changed your life. So you were going on that path, something happened, and oh, you went that path. Then something happened, and oh my God, we're on that path. And so, because that's how life is. Life moves, life is malleable like our memories. And so we can never rely on making a definite date with someone. Of course we do. We can't just live our lives saying, well, I'm never going to make any plans because they probably won't come true. That's just a pessimistic, negative view. No. But to make a date, to say you're going to have a dinner arrangement with some people. Yes, you get ready for it. Of course you do. But at the same time, know in the back of your mind that if it doesn't come to be, if it doesn't come to fruition, that's okay. Because life happens. And so let life happen. And while life is busy happening, let yourself live. Somebody put a quote on Facebook the other day. If you were told you had a week to live, what would you do? I had to respond. And that was, I would have as much freaking fun as I possibly could. I would do everything that I'm not supposed to do. And I would make damn sure I get out of here with a smile. I'm not going to sit in bed and go, oh, God, I just don't have much time now what to do. Or no. Life is for living. So if you're finding it lonely and you need some advice on how to overcome loneliness during this time of the year, especially if you're living with mental illness, then just drop it in the comments below and I'll do a video for you. I've been running around like a grasshopper on a hot plate. You know, can you imagine it? The hot plate, there's the grasshopper. Oh my God, right? Ding, 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 ding. Because I've been so busy, but not really so busy, but busy. But you know what I mean. So life gets in the way, right? And just doing what I can possibly do, because to overextend yourself is just a bad idea. All that ends up happening is you end up being exhausted and unhappy, and everyone else is, what's wrong with you? And you're like, okay, all right, nothing, I'm fine. But you're not. So give that a try. Thanks for watching. And if you want me to cover anything for you in a video, put it in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you again soon when I'm not running around looking for things. That's what I do. It's ridiculous. Or singing to my plants. Love you guys lots.